Okay. Hi, it's Jenna. And I have a couple bits of news I want to share that I'm quite excited about, all involving my novel Fidele. I don't have a paperback copy to show, but that's what the cover looks like on the ebook version. And this is mostly about the ebook version. It is available in print. That's my first piece of news. It's expensive. I'm skint, so I don't have a copy of it in paperback just yet. Hopefully, once I find a day job again. Anyway, that's beside the point. Um, Over on Twitter, there's a hashtag writing community, and someone within the writing community suggested that we promote a new hashtag review May to try to get readers to review our books because, especially for independent authors, the number of reviews can make a huge difference between the amount of sales you make and not having any sales at all. So people are promoting this hashtag, and I thought it would be nice to kind of do it over here. I do want to mostly promote my book Fidele because it's my newest book. It's a novel. It's a thing that I've been working on very hard for the last 4 years, trying to make it perfect. Is it perfect? It's like it's my baby. Of course, I think well of it. Um, and it is an romance set in early 1950s New Orleans. And the two protagonists are both World War II veterans named Malcolm Carmichael and Noel Thibodeau. And they are dealing with a family curse and a haunted house and a child who is in need of a lot of love. And I'm just really pleased with the reception that it's gotten so far. So that normally its price is $4.99, the ebook version. It's a big sucker. Which should also tell you something about how much the paperback copy costs. Um, it began as a serial novel, excuse me, and I cut out about 8,000 words between the end of the serialized version and what eventually got published. And a lot of other things got changed. So here is the summary. I'm an old. I have to have these. So here's the summary, the blurb. A house full of ghosts is no place to fall in love. Malcolm Carmichael has been coping with his post-war trauma by taking lovers, teaching art to schoolboys, and trying to ignore the ghosts he sees everywhere. After the death of his mother, he realizes he wants more than to just coast through the rest of his life and leaves the exclusive school in search of something more. Caleb Thibodeau was so traumatized by the death of his parents in a fire that he hasn't spoken a word since. His uncle Noel hires Malcolm to be his tutor, and Malcolm discovers that Caleb is not the only Thibodeau son with secrets. The plantation house Fidele is beautiful but haunted, and Noel is much the same. Soon Malcolm is absorbed in protecting Caleb and Noel from threats from both living and dead and uncovering the story of Fidele. So, that's your blurb right there. And I'm going to read a little bit from chapter 1. Malcolm. Kentucky springtime was upon us, so mild that when my afternoon art students, 18 first, second, and third graders, begged to have class outside, I agreed. I told the boys to get mats from the storage cupboard, wrote a note on the chalkboard of where we could be found, and herded my noisy pupils from the art room and through the school grounds. Goodwin Academy was a 150-year-old institution located on the outskirts of Louisville, the starting place for many a Midwestern banker, politician, and doctor. Goodwin students ranged in age from 6 to 13. Art was one of the few classes where several grades met together, which meant that two of my lover's sons, Alan and Frankie Davenport, were both in the afternoon class. As we left the tidy gardens for the woods on the fringe of the school grounds, the boys ran ahead except for Alan, who volunteered to carry a folding chair for me, and Frankie. He was only 6 and shy around bigger boys and tended to stick close to Alan's side. As we walked, his hand slipped into mine that wasn't holding my cane. Mr. Malcolm? Yes, Frankie, I answered. He said, and looked at Alan, who trotted at my other side with the folding chair awkward in his arms. Can I carry your satchel? I started to say no, I could handle it, but then looked down at Frankie's hopeful face. He had his father's dark eyes and hair and olive skin, and a dusting of freckles inherited from his mother. Sure, I said, and stopped long enough to drape it over his shoulder. Thank you. He grasped the strap with both hands. His walk took on a strut, and I hid my smile. I tried not to show any favoritism to the Davenport boys, no matter how often I fucked their father, but it was hard not to favor them when they were so sweet. By the time I reached the dry creek bed where I had told the boys to wait, they were gathered by the banks, their mats and pencil cases abandoned on the grass as they chased each other in a promptu game of tag. I had them sit, thanked Alan for setting up the folding chair for me, and eased into it, my bad legs stretched out in front of me. All right, boys, I said, today's assignment is to take 10 minutes and find one thing, a branch or a leaf or a rock, something small, and draw just that one thing. Now, I said, holding up my hands at their groans. I know you like drawing battleships and airplanes and whatnot later. Master the little things first, then you can move on to the bigger ones. Off into the woods they scampered. I shouted, 10 minutes, and noted the time on my wristwatch so I could call them back. I had no illusions that any of my students would become artists. The most talented among them might become graphic designers. There might be future engineers or architects in my classes, but most of them took art because it was part of the curriculum, not because they personally enjoyed it. The majority of my students would do little more in 20 years than occasionally doodle on their blotters as they invested money or practiced law. I had been praised for my talent since I was small, but even so, I taught high school French before the war rather than trying to make a living as a painter or illustrator. Sometimes I toyed with the idea of going back to Europe to study art properly, but that seemed like a pursuit for men whom the war had left whole, or at least less visibly broken than me. As I waited for the boys to return, one ear cocked for the sound of trouble, I took out my own sketch pad from my satchel and opened it to a blank page to do the assignment to. My classroom sketches were sanitary to the point of dullness, studies of hands or faces, copies of old masters, the occasional still life. Things I actually enjoyed drawing stayed in the sketchbooks I showed to no one, carefully locked away in my rooms. So that's the beginning. A lot of stuff going to happen to the boys after that. So that's Fidele. I'll put a link down below in the description to the buy page if you are interested. And if you feel moved to do so, please leave a review on Amazon, Goodreads, or the retailer of your choice. And I will certainly appreciate it. Bye, friends. We'll talk again soon.